Hi everyone, this is Mike from Iron Element. Today I wanted to talk about bulking versus cutting. I get this question a lot, so I want to go over what they are and how do you know when you need to be either in a cut or bulk or neither, okay? So basically when people talk about cutting versus bulking, they're talking about the calorie excess or deficit that they want to be in order to either drop fat or build muscle. That's kind of the whole premise to it, is the calories that you're eating. So when you're on a cut, that means you want to eat fewer calories in order to cut the fat that you have on your body uh, and maintain most or all of the muscle mass that you have. When you're bulking, you want to do the opposite. You want to eat excess calories in order to build muscle mass. Okay? Now, first, I just want to explain to you, if you're brand new to this, right, and you've never lifted before and you're starting my routines, you don't need to do either of these or worry about either of these. If you're lifting for less than a year, you can actually, you're in what's called the honeymoon phase, and you can put on muscle while you burn fat because your body is going under that stress, that adaptation, and your body's saying, I've never experienced this before. I'm going to drop some fat and I'm going to gain some muscle to compensate. So if you're in the first 8 to 10 months, maybe 12 months, but really 8 to 10 months, if you're still working out within that phase where you're new and you're eating right, all you need to do is clean up your diet, eat high protein, lift frequently, and follow progressive overload, and you will be able to build muscle while burning fat. Now, for the rest of us who are past that honeymoon phase, we kind of have to pick a lane. We don't have to, but a lot of times we want to pick a lane. Usually the way the standard cycle works is you eat in excess to build muscle, and then you cut the fat to reveal the muscle that you've built. And you want to cut the fat so that you keep most of that muscle you built. So it's kind of like, if you think of like a graph, you're building that muscle in your bulk, and then you go on a cut, and that muscle hopefully stays linear while your fat also drops. And then the result is you look more ripped because you've already put on that muscle mass and cut away that fat. And then you want to repeat again. You go into another bulk and another cut. And it's kind of a rinse repeat model, but it's all based on calories. Yes, your workout can change a little bit because when you're eating more, generally you can lift a little heavier, but the premise is all based on calories. So the first thing you need to do if you're interested in this is find out what your TDEE is. What is your total daily energy expenditure? Okay? What does that mean? That is the amount of calories your body will burn in a day, going through your regular routine, doing your walking, doing your regular workouts. So there are a lot of TDEE calculators online. So just go online and search for TDEE calculator. You'll find a lot of different ones. You can try them all and see what they each say. It'll be based on what your goals are, how much fat you want to lose or gain, or how much muscle you want to gain. And then it will spit out a number. And it will tell you what your basic maintenance is. So let's use a few numbers as an example. Let's say I enter my numbers and it says to maintain what I have now, it's approximately 2,500 calories. Okay? That means if I eat 2,500 calories, I will probably gain nothing and I'll probably lose nothing. I'll be in a maintenance mode. And that's okay. If you're perfectly happy with where you are, don't want to change, that's your goal. But for a lot of us, we want to change. We either want to drop some fat or we want to gain some muscle. So we have to make a choice. So what that means is, as I said, you're going to be eating less for a cut and more for a bulk. But now that you know your basic maintenance calories, let's say we're using 2,500 as an example, you'll know where to go from there. So as long as you're tracking, which in my other videos, I tell you how to track and what to track and how to eat properly, getting your high protein, you still have to follow all of the same concepts. Now what you do is, if you're in a bulk, for example, you want to add calories. But how many do you add, right? You'll find online people use 500 calories as the kind of baseline for adding or subtracting. So if you want to bulk, they say add 500 calories to your daily intake. I don't agree with that. I think you have to start slower. I think 500 is a little too much. You have to remember, let's talk about bulk only right now. In order to build muscle, the body doesn't need a crazy amount of excess energy and fuel and protein. It needs a little bit over your maintenance in order to build muscle. Muscle building is a very slow process. So if you add 500 a day, some of that, a lot of that could be going to fat when it doesn't need to go to fat. Your goal here is to find the amount you need to intake above your maintenance so that you can build muscle and minimize that fat gain. Okay? There's always going to be some fat gain. You can't do a bulk without having some fat, but you can minimize it by being very, very accurate with your calorie intake. So what I suggest is start at a 200 surplus. So if your maintenance is 2,500, you're going to go to 2,700, right? And that will be the measurement you're going to take day over day, week over week, and you're going to track your weight and you're going to track your lifts. So you know, am I getting stronger? Am I getting better in the gym? Am I following progressive overload? That's where you go. And if you find that you stall after a couple of weeks or whatever, a month, then you would add another 100. You're not going to just jump to 500 because then 200 of that could go to fat. And that's not your goal. Your goal is to really, really be cerebral here and minimize that fat increase. Okay. As I said, you're always going to have some fat. Right now I'm on a bulk. I've put on about 8 pounds, and yeah, a little bit of that has been fat. I can feel it on me, but I've minimized that because I've been very accurate with my measurements, but I'm always going to have some fat when I'm bulking. Okay. Now let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum, the cutting, which a lot of guys want to do, right? You want to get rid of that fat. So this, you can take the same approach, start with a 200 or 250 calorie deficit in your diet. So now you're going to 22 to 2,300 calories, right in that range. And you're going to track that over weeks. Once you see that you've leveled off and you're not losing anymore, you do another 100 per day. You just keep going and to a maximum of 500. At a 500 calorie deficit, you should be able to lose some good amount of fat. Remember, it takes 3,500 calories for 1 pound of fat loss. Okay. So if you're in a 500 calorie deficit, it will take you 1 week to lose 1 pound. It doesn't sound like much, but when you do it for 8 to 12 weeks, you know, you're 8 to 12 pounds down. That's a reasonable amount, you know. I mean, if you have excess 30, 40, 50 pounds to lose, it's going to take some time. But the point is, that's the measurement you're going to use. And then once you hit that goal and you're ready to start bulking again, you're going to flip that switch, go back to 2,700 and start with the bulk again. And now you'll be able to lift more, you'll be able to lift heavier. That's your goal to target. Okay. So that's kind of the difference between the bulk and cut. And now the question comes up, how do I know when I need to do this? Okay. So I kind of go by body fat percentage. You can estimate your body fat percentage. You can use calipers. You can do a DEXA scan, which costs money. Don't go by the scales. They don't really work properly, but you can estimate based on your look and what you think you are. So I like to go by a 5% rule. I like to be, when I hit around 20%, 18 to 20%, I know that it's probably time to start cutting. Okay. Now I'm getting a little bit pudgier. So I can tell right now I'm in the 16 to 17 range. So I'm getting there. But when I hit maybe 20, I might want to take off 5% at that point and go down to 15% where I feel more comfortable. 15% is a nice overall goal. You can look good, you feel good, and you're also able to play with your diet a little bit and have the fun. You're not so restricted that you can't eat anything you want. 13 to 15% is a nice range for the everyday kind of guy. You can take off your shirt at the beach and look good, and yet you can still eat kind of what you want within reason. And it's an easier lifestyle, especially if you have a family and you're busy and you're always traveling. Things like that make a difference. So I like to go by, if I hit 20%, that's a measure in my head that it's time to start a cut. And then I'll cut down to 15 and I'll lose, whatever 5% of my body fat is at that time. It might be 10 pounds, 12 pounds, whatever that case might be. So that's my goal. I don't go by a certain amount of weeks. I don't say I'm going to cut for 8 weeks. I say I'm going to cut until I hit that percentage. It might take 8 weeks, it might take 12 weeks, it might take 16 weeks, right? But because I'm sometimes not in an aggressive deficit, I can still enjoy my diet along the cut. So it's not grueling every day. It's not horrible every day. It's okay. I take a little bit less of this, a little bit less of this, and there's my goal. You can also supplement that cut by adding more walking, for example. But do not count that walking as part of your calorie intake. So if you walk and you burn 200 calories, don't up your calories by 200. Just take that and bank it and eat the same every day. So if your goal is 2,200 calories, regardless of the physical activity you work, stick to 2,200 calories. Okay? And the same would go for the opposite end of the spectrum on a bulk. If you exercise, you don't have to make up that bulk with eating more calories. You're a little more flexible on a bulk because you can get bigger and you will get bigger. But the way to know that the bulk is working is to track your lifts and know, are they going up week over week over week? If you're starting to lift more and lift heavier, then you know that you're on the right track and it's working. Progress in the gym is the only real way to know if you're actually advancing and getting bigger. If you're getting stronger, you're doing more reps, your rest time is reduced. That's another way to apply progressive overload. If these things are happening, you add a set, you add a rep, you add weight. These are different ways to progress. If these are happening, that's your guaranteed determination that you're making progress and trending in the right direction. If your weight's going up and you just can't lift anymore and you're getting worse, then you know you're probably putting on fat and you're not working out properly. Something is a little off there, right? So when you flip that switch and now you're cutting, your lifts are probably not going to go up, right? You're eating less, you're going to be a little weaker in the gym, but the goal here is to still push as if you're trying to at least maintain. So you're not going for personal records, you're not going for PRs, you're not trying to break the bank here. You're trying to maintain your normal lifts that you would do, okay? And you can look back if you track to your previous previous cutting cycle and think, am I lifting more than I was then? If you are, then that's another sign that your bulk worked and you're in a better position now because you're lifting more on your cut than you were in the previous cut. And that's how the progress goes. It's very, very, very slow. So you won't see it week over week, but when you get to month over month and year over year, this progress, all this micro steps add up into big leaps. And you'll see them looking back throughout the months and the years. So that's the difference between bulk and cut. And once you find the sweet spot that you like to sit in, don't be shy to stay in maintenance for a while, right? Enjoy it. Say, hey, I'm in maintenance. I can eat kind of a flexible diet. I enjoy it. I have good strength in the gym still. You can stay in maintenance as long as you're happy with who you are. Remember that. But if you want to gain muscle, you have to bulk. If you want to lose fat, you have to cut. You have to pick a lane. Please don't go in the middle of the road and try to balance it. One day I'm going to do this. Next day I'm going to bulk. One day I'm going to cut. I'm going to try to balance it. It doesn't work. Okay? At the end of all those cycles, you'll be exactly where you started and you'll be frustrated. Pick a lane, dedicate to that lane for a specific period of time or fat percentage and ride it out. If you're going to say, I'm going to do 12 weeks, fine. Do 12 weeks. Go all in. Bulk for 12 weeks. Put those numbers up. Set your records. Know you're making progress and then switch to your cut. And when you cut, stay in that cut until you're happy with your body where you want to be until you hit that goal. You have to pick a lane. That's the honest truth. If you want to either progress, bulk or cut, you got to pick one or the other. So if you have any questions, hit me up. I have other videos that will help with nutrition, with progressive overload and all of my workouts. Follow them. And if you need any help, make sure you drop me a message. You can also email me at iron-element@outlook.com and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, bulk or cut, guys. That's the breakdown. I hope that added a little clarification for you. And get out there and none of this is working unless you're eating properly and lifting frequently. Okay, so get out there, guys, and lift. Have a good day.